Hello everyone. So, just a bit of an explanation here as to what this video is. So, as you can see from the title, this video is Timothée Chalamet picks my TBR. And I actually started this video in January, on January 1st of 2021. And at first I wasn't sure which books exactly I was going to read. And, you know, over time I ended up choosing 4 books. And so, yeah, you're going to see the 4 books that I chose to read. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed making it. Let me know if there's anyone else you want me to have choose my TBR, because I would be willing to do that. Also, Timothy, if you're watching this, which you definitely are not, but if you are, I want to know 2 things. 1, do you believe Jo March really marries at the end of Little Women? And 2, how excited are you for Dune to come out? Because I am bursting at the seams. I literally need it right now. Okay, anyway, sorry. Back to the past me. Okay, this is my new camera. Got it for Christmas. It is January 1st. A couple books on the list I've already read, so I'm going to decide as I go if I want to reread any of them. I'm definitely not going to be rereading Dune, and I know that for a fact because I recently read this within the past few months and it's huge, so I'm not rereading it. I have yet to decide if I'll be rereading Little Women and 1984. But what I have decided is that for the month of January, we're gonna ease into it. We're not trying to be too ambitious. We're gonna ease into things here. So the book is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. So I chose this for the first one because 1, it's short. 2, I already love it. 3, here is something you're not gonna like to hear, is that I have somehow still never seen the movie. Despite the fact that I read this book kind of wanting to see the movie, despite the fact that I have the movie cover of this book, which is not the worst movie cover I've ever seen, by the way, and still I have yet to watch the movie, even though everyone says it's the best coming of age thing ever, and it's on Netflix right now, and it'll probably be taken off by the time that I want to actually watch it, so that'll be fun. But anyway, yes. So the first one I will be reading is Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I guess I'll update you guys whenever I get to this. Hello. I'm back, everyone, and you know, my hair is pink now, so that's gonna be an interesting added layer to this video, that my hair is just gonna slowly change colors over the course of the year. So that's fun. But anyway, what's actually important is that I finished the first read of this challenge, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Yes, I have read this book before. That was back in 2018, and I honestly didn't remember very much of it. I knew, like, when I wrote my review of it, I said that I loved it, which I'm sure is true because I loved it even more this time, but I really just didn't remember why I loved it, because I think I had read it in like one day, which may have happened again, but it's fine. We'll get into that in a bit. So if you want to check out my review from this time reading it and from the past, you should follow me on Goodreads down in the description below, and also check out my blog, which is www.readm, like em, like my name, .org. You can check out all the reviews of all the books I read, and from there you can also look at different movies I've loved from the year and check out my letterbox, stuff like that, whatever. Irrelevant to this though. Actually, maybe not irrelevant, because I also happened to read the entire book and watch the movie in the same day. So we can talk about the movie in this review as well. Anyway, back to the actual relevance of this project. So the reason that this book came up in my search of books that Timothée Chalamet has recommended is because I came across this article. Also, I'm gonna be looking down at my laptop here, but I'll show the quotes from the articles somewhere on the screen. I found an article from Daily News that was back from when Call Me By Your Name was coming out. In this article, it described how Timothy accepted the role of Elio in Call Me By Your Name and what got him to that point, because when he was approached for the role, the script hadn't been written yet. He said that the only other time in his life that he had a reading experience where he felt like this was a window into a young person's mind in such a specific and detailed way that he'd never seen before was in Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I really have to agree with his words about Perks, because while I have seen plenty of coming of age good books or movies, this one is such a specific and detailed way that it just, I think it connects with everyone, because I don't know one person in my like age group who doesn't love the movie or book. I feel like everyone can connect to it in so many different ways, even if it's not completely, even if it's not at every point in your life. There is always a time when you find yourself needing to come back to Charlie, our main character. I mean, this book, it's really just the amalgamation of growing up, and while it's from the perspective of a freshman in high school, it doesn't only apply to being a freshman in high school. It can apply to you at really any stage in your life, and I think that's what makes it it's what makes it timeless. And it kind of ties back to, you know, the famous quote from In Here, and in that moment I swear we are infinite. I think that really speaks to what this book does. It points out that not every single bad time of your life will last forever. None of those times will last forever, but you should take the time to appreciate the moments when you're participating, as Charlie says. So now I want to talk about some of the connections that I feel like Timothée saw between this and Call Me By Your Name. I haven't read the book of Call Me By Your Name, but obviously I've seen the movie several times, and I really see what he meant in the connections between the two. Because from what I know about the book, it's written from Elliot's perspective, so it's another like within the mind of the character kind of read. It's about growing up and wanting to fit in. A lot of it is kind of about communicating feelings, unspoken desire, and not knowing how to communicate fully yet, or what love is, or like what love you deserve. That's another one of the biggest quotes from this is, "We accept the love we think we deserve," which I think can really relate to Elio in Call Me By Your Name, because he goes through some heartbreak because he becomes part of a relationship that he just falls headfirst into. He doesn't really think about the ending or how he's being treated, how this will work out. He just thinks about what he feels, which I think is quite similar to how Charlie thinks. It's just that Charlie is a bit more considerate of others. Well, quite a bit more considerate of others compared to Elio. But it's a similar feeling with "we accept the love we think we deserve." I think that is kind of seen in both stories equally. And the movie is so well done too. I mean, I'm sure it's because, you know, the author had like all the control in making sure it was well done. Also, something I thought was so funny in the movie was that for literally 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, there's 2 scenes when Julia Gardner is just there. Like, she's like half of a line, she just says like hi and waves, and then there's a different scene when she's just like in the background, and I was just like, oh my god, it's Ruth from Ozark, like, hi. So if you ever watch it, keep an eye out for Julia Gardner, because I was laughing. So yeah, I really think that Participating in Wallflower is brilliant. I would highly recommend that you read it, listen to it, watch it any way you want to consume it. If you liked it, I do actually have a few recommendations of things that you might also like. I think the biggest match between this book and a different book I've read, although I haven't read it in a few years as well, is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. It's just about her coming of age story as well, and I just think that book, the tone especially, is very, very similar to this book. Another book where the tone reminds me of this book, but the theme, I don't know. This one's a bit more of a stretch, but like something reminds me of each other is I'm the Messenger by Marcus Zusak, who also wrote The Book Thief. This book is like kind of a mystery more than a coming of age book, but it's just the gritty tone, the dark tone. Like, I almost see a color when I read both of these books, and it's the same color between them. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what I'm imagining here. But yes, I loved this, as you can tell, and please feel free to check out my reviews on my blog and Goodreads and whatnot. I'm very excited to get into my next book for this project, which I'm not sure what that will be yet, but I'll let you know when I do. See you soon. Okay, so I just finished reading Beautiful Boy by David Sheff, and I am very glad that I chose to do this little experiment, because this is something that I really probably would not have picked up on my own, and it's a perspective I've never heard from before. You know, like, I've learned about addiction obviously, like in school and whatnot, but I have never thought about how deeply addiction affects one's loved ones, and that they kind of experience an addiction or obsession of their own that they cannot escape, trying to save, in this case, their own son. Well, I did find some of it a little in the middle to drag. That did not take away from its impact. This was a fabulous memoir, and I am a big fan of memoirs, and this definitely solidified my opinion that I need to read more. I think a good memoir is a memoir that is told completely honestly. There is no shying away from feelings, even if they can make you look bad, and I think David Sheff did a fabulous job with that. It reminds me a bit of The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, in the sense that he conveys and describes everything he was feeling, even if someone could criticize him for it. He doesn't shy away from that. And having seen the movie in 2019, I can say that after reading this, I think that my experience watching it will probably be heightened when I eventually watch it again. And also, I'm aware that Nick Sheff, the subject of the book, the son of David Sheff, also has a memoir called Tweak, which I personally do not plan on reading for this experiment. Maybe one day, a couple years down the road, I might, but I mean, having read this, it's exhausting to have to go through this story, and I cannot even imagine having to have lived through it, because reading it itself was tiring, but in an impactful way. I'm definitely going to be giving this 4 stars. I did find myself enthralled by some portions, reading and not being able to stop, and then others I found a bit drier, but overall this is a very important book to read, and I would highly recommend it to pretty much anyone, unless you don't want to read about addiction, because obviously that is a huge trigger in this book. And I would also especially recommend this to people who enjoy memoirs, because this was definitely an exceptional one. I have decided that the next book I'm going to read is Bones and All, just because that news came out so recently and it's very exciting, and I think that's going to be a quick one. And so yeah, I think that's a very good one to choose next, because I'm very busy at the moment, so a quick book is, I think, appropriate. So yeah, I'll update you guys when I get to that one. Okay, hello everyone. I have an update for you guys. Okay, so it's been a minute since my last update. It is now actually mid-April, and I have completed my final 2 books for this TBR. First of which being Bones and All by Camille DeAngelis. So I actually ended up really enjoying this book. I think this honestly might be my favorite out of all the ones I've read. And I mean, I think that it makes sense, because I am a young adult reader primarily, and this is a young adult book, and I really like thrillers, horror, and things that toe that line, and this certainly does that. It really does. So this book, if you don't already know, is actually going to be a Lithgow Guadagnino film, and Timothée will be playing Lee, who is not the main character, but he's the love interest in it. And this story follows a young girl named Marin, who is a cannibal, and she has to kind of live with that secret while being abandoned by everyone around her, and just figuring out her life, going through it, having to deal with her compulsions and her desires and that kind of stuff. And I'm really glad that I read this. I definitely would not have picked this up probably without doing this challenge, because I had never heard of it before. So I'm excited to see the film, although I am a bit nervous just because of the subject and the goriness, but we'll see. So this was definitely a win. And the final book that I have read for this TBR was Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. Major themes in here are feminism, some intersectionality. It's basically about a black woman in the 1930s trying to navigate her life, different partners, different romances, different bad things that happen to her, different good things that happen to her, and just her kind of fighting for the life that she wants to live. So this story, while I really recognize the importance that it holds, and I really enjoyed the themes that it discussed and the ideas, I really did not enjoy reading this. It was very slow moving despite only being like 200 pages. And the writing was interesting. I mean, it's definitely a bit hard to get into at first because the dialect is so different from just like standard writing, but once you like read it like half, you can read it fine. It's just that I still found it pretty slow moving. I just found it so slow moving that it really took away from any potential enjoyment of it, but I do understand why this is read in schools and why Timothy would have appreciated this, because I certainly think it's an incredible story. It just wasn't entertaining per se, which is, you know, people read for different reasons, and I get the impression that Timothy reads more to ponder, but I kind of read more to enjoy and to entertain. So I think that's kind of why this book, as opposed to the other ones that I read that are more mainstream, less, you know, of a classic, this is the one that I enjoyed the least, which, I mean, it makes sense to me. So that wraps it up for this TBR of Timothée Chalamet Picks My TBR. I enjoyed doing this, even though it has taken many months to get through all of these outside of the books that I read normally. I mean, I would recommend you read some of these books too. None of them were downright horrible, and I definitely recommend giving Bones and All a try, surprisingly. It's better than you would expect it to be. Although if you don't like gore and that stuff, then I would not recommend this. I somehow just didn't record an ending to this video, so I'm just gonna leave you with this beautiful collage of some edits I've made on my fan account, which you should follow. I'll link that in the description. It's at To Speak or To Die with the numbers 2. And yes, so anyway, just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed for more bookish content. And yeah, that's about it. I really enjoyed making this, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. See you guys soon!